You're listening to The Brand Compass, conversations to navigate your way to building a brand fit for purpose and poised for success. Here's your host, Shelley, Rostlund.
Hello there, my friend. Thank you for joining me today. As you know, this is the place where we get into the nitty-gritty of what it means and looks like when your brand, meets the humans you serve. If you are new to me, hi there, I'm Shelley, your host on this conversational journey, and I'm so pleased that you have found me today. Today I wanted to do something a bit different, and I wanted to share some of the reflections of running a bit of an experiment lately. If you're connected to me, you may well have taken part in this. If not, let me loop you in a bit. Now and again, I run these content creation habit challenges with my friends and connections. And basically, we do it for two reasons. One, to get into the habit of being more consistent and regularly sharing content on our chosen social media platforms. And two, most importantly, to make sure that some of that content is actually focused on giving people opportunities to get to know you and me, the humans behind the work that we do. So recently, I ran a 21-day personal story challenge, and in this episode, I wanted to share my reflections about what I noticed about myself and of the people interacting with my content as I took part in the challenge. And then I'm going to flip the mic over to have you hear directly from some of the people who participated and let you hear from them about their own reflections. I thought that might be quite cool to do. And what I will also do is just share my helicopter view, if you like, of what I noticed about what my friends and connections were sharing about themselves during the challenge. Sound good? Okay, let's get going. Did you know that there is an alarming percentage of people who have social media accounts, but that actually don't post anything? I can't quite remember the percentages, but it was something stupidly low, like there's only 5% of people actually producing content, for example, on LinkedIn, where there's 95% of people not sharing anything at all. I mean, yikes, I might not have the percentages right, but the dramatic difference in those two ratios were quite alarming when they shared it with me. What does that mean for you and me? Well, basically, for those of us who put the effort in, there's a huge potential to gain some more visibility and traction just purely because we have decided to take action. Okay, so back to the challenge. This particular challenge, I said, was to carry on from what's been basically driving me this year a lot. And that's around giving you more opportunities to be more of yourself, more of the time. But to also ensure that you are sharing stories so that you're giving others opportunities to get to know you better as the human behind the work that you do. So yes, this is really an extension of your personal brand, the element of gaining clarity of who you are, what you're here to do, what you stand for, and who you actually are serving. But this is also very much about you opening up to let other people in order to see and experience the real you. Basically, the guardrails I set up for this challenge was that it was running over 21 consecutive days, working off the basis of 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦's premise that it takes 21 days to build a new habit. And what you had to do was pick the platform that you wanted to focus on, like LinkedIn, for example, create one piece of content a day. At least 3 of the pieces over those 21 days needed to be a video of at least a minute long. And 11 of the 21 pieces, so just about every second one, I was pushing it a little bit on this, needed to be personal stories and with no business branding, on them. You know, when you have those pretty graphics with your logo and swirls and stuff, I wanted the visual content to be quite raw and personal. Now you had to use specific hashtags so we could all follow each other's progress, and it was important to benchmark your actions. So I said to take screenshots of your insights, whichever platform you're on. So at day 1, day 7, and day 21. My theory was day 1 would be your baseline benchmark, and then day 7 would give you more motivation to keep going if you'd seen how well you'd done over the first week. And then day 21 was a big old pat on your back for making so much progress since day 1, if that makes sense. So what I'll do is I'll put the link for the original LinkedIn post I did that outlined the guardrails of the challenge for you, in case you want to maybe do it yourself over the next 21 days. So head over to the show notes and you'll be able to find that LinkedIn post. Okay, so let's look at our reflection. So I'll start with firstly how I approached the challenge for me and my content first, and then I'll go from there. So overall, I missed one day in the end, which was pretty good, because the last time we ran it, I think I missed 3 out of the 21. I chose LinkedIn as my main platform, and then I replicated some of the posts that were relevant, and I felt it was natural to do. I replicated them over to Instagram. Those are the 2 main platforms that I play in. I only have, just for perspective, I only have a free LinkedIn account. I don't have a premium account. And right now I'm sitting at around 1,400 connections and about 1,600 followers. I do culls every couple of years to clean out my connections, if you like. So I'm not a numbers gatherer. I'm not focused on gathering more followers and more connections. I'm more interested in gathering those quality connections, if that makes sense. Okay, so back to my reflections. So let's look at the dry mathematical perspective, if you like, looking at the insights. So my average weekly impressions hit close to 5,000 each week. Now, I've got less than 2,000 connections, so I thought that was pretty good, because on average, in a normal month, when I'm not posting every day, but I might be posting 3 times a week, my impressions sit at around 1,200 to 1,300, obviously depending on the content I've posted. My profile views were sitting at around 284 over the past 90 days, so they average that over 90 days, so obviously the less you're doing, the less profile views you'll get. So 284 was pretty good. My number of connections marginally increased, but like I've already said, I'm a little bit picky and choosy about who I do connect with. And my search appearances were sitting at around 60 per week. So that's the amount of people actually looking for me on LinkedIn and aren't connected to me. So a bit of backstory to me, though, just in light of how I'm commenting in terms of those reflections, is I'm not a big analytics follower at all. I measure my success based on feelings, conversations, and the general uplift of activity and interest that I get. And that's mainly because I've been in the digital and social media marketing space since 2008. And honestly, the math interests me less and less nowadays. We are humans. We shouldn't be focused on the numbers that, frankly, we have no control over. My view is that you and I, we know our clients, we know our field, so we're better placed on focusing on how to serve that knowledge better and actively be better every day at helping people to understand us and what we do. The better we get at that, the more the math will actually start to follow you. So don't pander to the trends, because they are fleeting and they are highly disconnected from you and your mission. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. Now to the human-based reflections for me. So I purposely shared more personal stories, and I only had 1 or 2 business-related or work-related pieces. I used my photo albums to help me think of stories to share when I was running dry. I found that I got a lot more traction if I posted earlier in the mornings. So I did notice that if I posted late at night because I'd forgotten, or later in the day because I'd forgotten, I wasn't getting as much traction. So what I rather swiveled to do was to kind of write it in the evening and schedule it for the morning, but just try and be ahead of myself all the time. And I stuck with that, and that seemed to work. But I have a very UK-based audience with a smattering of US, Asian and Australian, and because a lot of my clients are UK based, I kind of stick with the time zone of UK. I also decided to be very active in terms of commenting on content for other people. So I racked up about 60 comments a week, which actually included the replies to my own content, if you like. I know it sounds like a lot, but actually when you're having conversations back and forwards, it's not that much. I just try to at least comment on 2 people's pieces of content a day. I got people connecting with me, interestingly, as a result of the conversations I was having in the comments on other people's content. So that's something to look out for. I never comment on a post, just so you are aware. I never comment on a post where I can't actually add to the conversation in a meaningful way. So you will never, ever see me making the comment of soulless doom, which goes, "Great article, thanks for sharing." You will never see Shelley Rostlund writing those words on a comment on a social media post. Right, let's look at the engagement I got on my content. So, interestingly, some people just came out of the woodwork who haven't actually commented or visibly engaged with my content for years. All right, found that remarkable, and it was very cool. I got DMs from people who got very curious about what I was doing, and also some marketing friends from across the seas that just reached out to cheer me on and say, "Oh, thanks for inspiring them actually to get back into creating content, and could they join in?" I'm like, "God, yes, of course you can." The more people that are sharing about themselves and enjoying it and sharing great stuff, the better our feeds are for all of us. So we really need to encourage more people. I noticed that I got a lot of reactions from people that were outside of my network. That was interesting. So when I say reactions, I mean, the emoji types, the thumbs up and the smiley faces and those things. Without a doubt, the more personal the story was that I shared, the more engagement I got from people. And if I had a really good visual or video to go with it, even better. Now, let's switch the lens now to my helicopter view before we hear direct from some of the people who participated. So think of this, me, third position, sitting above, looking at what other people were sharing as a part of the challenge. Okay, so I could see who was struggling to actually come out from hiding behind that tree. You know, that safety tree we all hide about? Yeah, we hide behind. The content is just very safely focused on outside things and very little that was, it wasn't personal. So I saw some very specific examples quite early on, and I will say this was early on in the challenge, of a lot of hiding behind words, lots of prose and carefully picked pretty stock images, quite educationally or teachy in nature, right? And you know what the result was, of going safe for me as a reader? Nothing in the content made me want to say or add anything because I actually couldn't see the human behind it. I like to know why people are sharing things. Sometimes it's just to be honest and sharing, and I quite like to see that and that there's no ulterior motive. When I can't see a motive, I get a little bit wary and I don't understand the point of the content, all right? Sometimes the content was carefully positioned to really point at me as the reader and prompt me to think or do something. But the writer hadn't actually shared anything vulnerable about themselves, or if they did, it was so cloaked in safety, it was incredibly hard to decipher it. So again, my brain can't work it out, and then I don't know what to say, and then I don't actually want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to comment. So I think there's a balance here, which I will note as an observation, is where you're trying to create content to prompt people, or are you trying to create content to connect with people? I feel like sometimes you can't mix those two objectives together. So it's worth thinking about that. So if you're trying to truly connect with people, then I would steer clear away of call to actions. I would rather just share and go, is it just me? Does anyone feel the same as me? Like, am I crazy that I think these things, or that this is the way my brain works? Rather position it in that way so that people feel like there's an invitation to share their side to the story. Whereas if you're creating content to prompt people to, pop their advice or add their tip or something like that, I don't think you can mix the two. From looking at the challenge, I could see within the lack of comments that potentially that might have been an issue. But I will say though, as the challenge went on, I noticed that people started to really loosen up more. So more of my friends started to dip into their photo albums. And if anything, that's the biggest tip I would give you, right? And it was so much fun. I got to see so many different sides to people and getting a peek into their lives outside of the professional they are. It made me more curious about them. And I'll share some examples in the show notes. I'll try and go and pull them up so you can see them as well. But I really loved it. It just makes my newsfeed so much more human-based, and I'm very much for that. Right, I'll definitely do this challenge again. I really found it engaging. And by me doing it and getting braver myself, I'm hoping that I'm showing others how to take the courage to do more. I still have stories I'm not ready to share, don't get me wrong. But I have lots of others that I definitely still can. For goodness sake, I'm 48 years old. I've been on this earth long enough, right? And even if you're 20, you have stories, okay? So let's dig into them and let's share ourselves a bit more with people. Right, so that's enough from me. Now let's listen from a few of my friends who did the challenge and hear how it went for them. So first up, you're going to hear from 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗦𝗘𝗟𝗟, who runs an osteopathic clinic in Higham Ferrers in Northamptonshire. Fun fact, she's actually a trained animal osteopath as well, so her patients are both humans and animals. Let's hear what Claire got from doing the challenge.
I didn't feel that comfortable, I have to admit, doing the personal stuff on LinkedIn, but I thought it was really interesting that by being a bit more honest about my personal life, I think that I had more interesting comments, and perhaps people got to know me a little bit in a way that they wouldn't normally do. And I think since we do build our relationships and trust with people that we know, not just a professional exterior, I think that I learnt it's useful to do. I suspect that my posts in the future are going to have more personal bits and pieces in them. And I think also that it was important to me that those personal bits felt cheerful.
Next, we have Duncan O'Brien, who is a personal well-being coach. He's based in Newcastle. And if you listen to episode 47, you will have heard me talking about him being the hugging tree I got to meet at a conference recently. So Duncan, how did you find the challenge, my friend?
Hi Shelley, thanks for the invitation to join your challenge and also to feedback about how it's been. That's been really important to be asked that kind of stuff. So yeah, at first I was a little bit afraid maybe to put something out there regularly, just wondering who the hell would want to listen to it, to be honest. And it's been really lovely to put things out there. I had a little bit more thought about myself and had a little bit of fun with it as well, and felt less and less nervous, and then more inspired to think about what I might say when something came up, made me want to post something as I learned something new about myself or a client. And then I've had more conversations with my clients about what kind of role I play in their lives, which has been very positive for me in terms of giving me some more confidence about what it is that I actually do, because it always feels a little bit vague with it being so one-to-one personal. And I've had some nice conversations with friends as well, have reconnected because it's shared on Facebook, and they're like, oh, it's been really great to get in touch. And that spanned like the personal and the professional, and the spiritual, I would say, as well.
Oh man, I just love hearing their voices. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to give me the feedback. Honestly, I really, really enjoy doing these challenges. If you want to jump on, and when we do one in the future, let me know. DM me, drop me an email. You'll find all my contact details in the show notes. And what I'll do is I'll just let you know next time we actually run a challenge and tag you in. Now, before I leave you, I thought of a little analogy that you could possibly use when thinking about what you want your content to do for you in terms of interaction. See if this works. Instead of trying to think of how to create a viral post or a highly engaged content, maybe do this. Think of 3 types of balls with very different characteristics which represent the types of content. Okay, stick with me, this is clean. I promise you. Okay. Firstly, the golf ball. Now this ball definitely has direction. It's very fast, and although small, we may actually struggle to follow it from the outset, and its path may take a lot longer to get to its destination, which we can't quite make out in the distance. Think of yourself on a golf course. This type of content is perhaps missing an element for immediate readers, but eventually it comes around and it hits its mark, but over time. Okay. Secondly, the baseball. This ball is also fast, however, it's bigger, so we can see where it goes, and if it's caught or hit, it reaches its mark pretty quickly. So the action is quite purposeful and quick, and this kind of content is simple, direct, and gets the reader to the point faster. Thirdly, the snowball. This is a magical ball. This has the potential to either disappear completely or grow bigger. It's trickier to create a snowball because you have to make it first. You got to pound it enough so that it will travel and last longer. But instead of throwing a snowball, the ideal is to roll it out just right so that it grows bigger and bigger until it gets to its destination. For me, the snowballs are the kinds of content that may start out really hard to get out of you, but once it's out and rolling down the hill, it picks up more snow and pace, and before you know it, your small handful of a snowball is now the size of the Hulk. The secret is, my friend, you never know which of your handful-sized snowballs will become the Hulk. The trick is to keep being brave and experimenting. And I had a post like this for me where this happened. I shared a video of my behind the scenes of how I put my face on in the morning and put my wig on in the morning on Instagram last year. And it just snowballed from there to the point of getting to speak on a stage. The kind of interaction and commenting it got from people was like, I had no idea. And then I reshared it on LinkedIn this year to follow up through all of the theme of content that I've been doing this year. And yeah, the insights for that and the analytics for that went off the charts as well. So I wasn't really to know what was going to work, what wasn't, and I was quite afraid to share it, but I did. So, right, I think I squeaked through that. Did that analogy work for you? Let me know. Give me a shout. And that's it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Did that help you to see the world of connection possibility in sharing more of yourself with your audiences, whether that's online or in person? If you have no idea where to start in picking the stories to share, I have 3 previous episodes that you might want to go back and listen to, and they may actually help spur some ideas for you. So they were episode 39, where I went to the unique points of human difference, 41, where I looked at the diverse dimensions to you, which could stem from cultural, societal, or lifestyle factors. And then there was episode 42, where I shared my personal experience of realizing the impact of me sharing my story on stage for 200 people. I'm not a speaker, so that was a big deal for me. So who do you know that could do with hearing this conversation and my reflections on sharing more personal stories about the human behind the work? Share this episode. You know you want to. Until next time, my friend, stay strong, believe you have value, and make good brand decisions.
Thank you for listening to The Brand Compass. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with your entrepreneurial friends and help them make good brand decisions. Until next time, let's keep the conversation going at ShelleyRostlund.com.